Puff's mother would always come by, and that was my biggest critic at the house because she was a trained chef herself, watching all my tools, techniques, maybe even stealing a few of my recipes. Don't tell her I said that. Hi, I'm Ethan Taylor, former private chef of Justin Bieber, Eddie Murphy, Sean Combs, aka Diddy. Today I'll be making Puff's favorite dish, Sriracha maple chicken biscuit sandwich. I would make this for him almost every day. I selected this dish because Puff is a black mogul, so I had to have something like this ready for Puff at any time. He and his entourage would come from the club or from a meeting, and it was something hearty that they can eat for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. First things first, we're gonna get our biscuits ready. Here we have all of our ingredients started. We have our flour, butter, salt, sugar, baking powder, and buttermilk. We're gonna get started by combining our dry ingredients first. Next up, we're gonna mix in the dry ingredients so they're well incorporated. Nothing too crazy, just a quick stir to make sure that your baking powder, salt, and sugar aren't clumped in together. Next up, let's grate some butter. So, European butter is best recommended, unsalted also. You wanna control the amount of salt in baking also, so I prefer using unsalted butter. Now, we're gonna use about 6 to 8 tablespoons of butter. Ideally, you can grate it right inside the flour. So this is what it looks like when it's grated, kind of like cheese. The reason why we're grating butter is because you want your butter to be frozen and as cold as possible. This is going to help the butter from being mixed in with the flour too much. That way, when the biscuit bakes, it provides some moisture inside in between the flour mixture. Now that we have our butter inside of our flour, we're going to get it all mixed up. You want almost a texture of sand. So you want to lightly toss the flour around inside that butter, and that way the butter's not sticking to each other. It almost has like a string cheese texture to it inside this flour. Let me tell you guys a little story about one time when I was cooking for Puff. He comes in, 3 a.m., calls me, says, I need you at the house right away. I said, I'm kind of asleep, Puff. You know, I'm supposed to come in 2 hours anyway. He said, it's okay. I'll pay you extra. Come in early. I said, well, okay, Puff. If you're gonna pay extra, I'll come in early. So I come in early, and he ended up having me cook from 3 a.m. that night all the way till another 6 a.m. the next day. Straight partying. He had Jay-Z, Beyoncé, Mary J. Blige, Nas. Everyone came over his house after the Grammy party. Oh my God, it was so much fun. So I got to meet all these people, and the best part about it was they said this chicken biscuit was a hit. So that's the moment I knew that I had to make this recipe for everyone and get it out to the world. Now we're going to incorporate our wet ingredients to the dry and start folding the biscuits over, also known as laminating. The process of when that fat is in between the actual flour and the moisture. So pour in a little bit of buttermilk, about halfway through. Slowly incorporate the flour and the buttermilk. Once you start to see clump up, add some more buttermilk. Now, another thing about this recipe is I loved it because I could have biscuits ready inside the fridge sitting for a day or so because I knew that these things were gonna go fast. And my chicken biscuit was almost ready to go in the middle of the night at any time. Now this looks about done. It has about the texture of Play-Doh. It's pretty well mixed, but we see we got a little bit of flour on the sides, and we're gonna use that to laminate the dough and fold it over. That's the process of really rolling the dough with our hands. No rolling pin, very important. Also, no machine mixer. The reason why we're using our hands is because the machine creates heat. So we don't want to create heat while mixing this and melt the butter. That's why we're going to put this on the board right here and use our hands the old-fashioned way. Now let's work this into a big form of dough. I have a little bit of extra flour to work on site the service if need be, but so far we're just going to use our hands. You want to fold this over about 5 to 6 times. You don't want to overwork the dough. You don't want to make bread. These are biscuits, so you want them slightly flaky. You almost want to massage the dough. It's okay if it's a little wet. See how we're getting these layers and layers? These are going to make very flaky, moist biscuits. Don't waste any of that butter flour. It's expensive. Inflation's high out here. Now, your hands should be nice and strong after doing this, and we have nice multi-layers of flakes in here. This is the process of lamination. Perfectly good time while this dough is laminating and just rolling itself away to tell you how I got the job of working with Diddy. I started working for Puff through my agency, Colonial Domestic. They asked me if I was ready to work for such an intense client like Puff, if I was ready to really handle his workload and his hours and his personality. I said I'm down for anything, and they know that. So that's how I really got started with Puff, because they knew that they could send me to some of the most eccentric moguls around in Los Angeles. Now our biscuits are ready. We're gonna stamp them out. Make sure our ring gets a little flour too, so we can get them off each time. That's the sound you love to hear. Shape our biscuits a little bit. Now you want these biscuits to be about 1.5 inches in height. They're gonna rise a little bit, but not too much. We're gonna get a little closer with our dough. Maybe you have to laminate it some more, but you don't waste any dough. If you end up working it a little more, you just have to let the biscuit rest a little bit before you put it inside the oven. Now we got our biscuits all ready. Even if you got one a little big, that's okay. You can also change the size that you like it. Now let's get these biscuits in the oven. The biscuits need to bake at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for almost 12 minutes. You're gonna wanna watch these biscuits because different altitudes can change that bake time. But overall, they should be golden brown. No butter at all should be on top until after the biscuits are done. Now that we have our biscuits in the oven, we're gonna get started on side of our chicken. Right now, I have a pot of oil heated to 375 degrees. This is gonna take about 10 to 15 minutes, so I got this started first. The chicken ingredients are eggs, chicken breast, and our flour mixture. Now let's do this step by step. Let's get our eggs a-cracking. Some eggs get a little tough to crack, but you can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs, right? Now that our eggs are all incorporated, we're gonna add some of our flour mixture. Just enough to make a batter. This is gonna help the flour mixture stick to the chicken when we toss it in there. Now this is good enough for this part. We can get started on the chicken next. So we're gonna take our chicken breast, fillet it. I like to slice mine fairly thin, roughly about 1/4 inch. Now when you're cutting this chicken, you want it to be the same size as your biscuits roughly. So if you want to have a little leftover chicken or something like that, I often have to make quite a few different chicken dishes, so it's great to have fillets available. Roughly the same size as our biscuit, we have our chicken breasts, and then we're going to slightly just put a few cross hatches inside. Just run your sharp knife slightly over, and that way the chicken will have more flavor inside there. Drop that right in the egg mixture. Swirl it around in our batter. Get it nice and coated in that chicken and flour mixture. And now we got something to put inside our flour mixture. This is our cornstarch, potato flour, and seasoning, secret seasoning. You gotta come ask the chef for that one inside this flour mixture. So we got turmeric, cayenne, onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and chef's secret seasoning. Now the cayenne pepper, it'll hit you. It's burning my nose right now. So let's get this a frying real quick before I pass out. And that oil is hot enough. That's what you want to see, bubbling. We're gonna go with our next piece of chicken. Give it a little shake. So I'll tell you a few more fun things about Puff. One thing I really loved about him was how grounded he was. Even though he's a multi-millionaire, probably a billionaire that's traveled the world and ate the best restaurants, he was always very well grounded. That's why he loved eating comfort food. Even though it's gourmet comfort food, it's something that he grew up on, at least at home. Now, Puff's mother would always come by, and that was my biggest critic at the house because that was his biggest chef. She was a trained chef herself, so she knew everything that I was doing, watching all my tools, techniques, maybe even stealing a few of my recipes. Don't tell her I said that, for sure. So this was Puff's second favorite dish, to be honest. His main was French toast. But I could not in good heart feed this man French toast every day. So I had to come up with something else, and that's how the chicken biscuit was started. He absolutely loved it and said, you know what? I might even replace my French toast with this chicken biscuit. So for the most part, because other guests also didn't want French toast all day, this became the most popular dish of Mansion Puff. Now that our chicken's done, I think we should check on our biscuits and take them out the oven. Our chicken looks absolutely amazing and fantastic. Once we put that in between the biscuit with that maple sriracha sauce, we're in for a party. Now that we have our fried chicken and homemade biscuits done, it's time to add the last magical part of this dish together. That's gonna be the maple sriracha sauce. I'm gonna turn this pan up on low heat add the maple syrup to reduce it down to slightly sticky. Then I'm gonna add a little bit of Sriracha. And while it's still hot, that maple syrup's gonna be loose. But by the time we get done and cools down, it's gonna be nice and sticky. And now that we have our last component done, let's put this all together and get eating. This looks absolutely amazing. Now I have to give it a try. Oh man. Perfect. The best ever. Everybody knows Puff Diddy does it the best and does it big. You don't get any bigger than this when you can have a chicken biscuit on demand whenever you want. Absolutely amazing to have a private chef do it big for you like this. No one does it like Puff. Just watch out. I hope you all get to try this recipe at home. It's super easy, super delicious. So you can find me at Grady's.com and social media sites. Also check this recipe out on Delish.com for many more. Can't wait to see you there. Bye.